be there to support them. If you don't think you can do it, you find someone who can, but don't leave your child without support. The kids need to learn to cling together, to come together as much as they can, and to find also ways of finding other people to stand up for them if your parents won't do it. I admire so much our Muslim youth because they not only suffer the persecution in the school from the people who do not understand Islam and Muslims, they suffer the persecution in their homes and in their families by the families who do not and will not accept the pressures and tragedies of their lives in the real world that they live in here.
So a couple of questions on the same.
Yeah, forget it. It's all right.
There's a couple of questions on the same theme. According to Islam, can women work outside the home if they have young children and even if their husband's working? So they leave the work and so they leave the children with the babysitter. Is that all right?
Okay. A woman is allowed to own a business, to conduct her business affairs, and cannot be prevented from whatever is necessary for her to own, operate, conduct her own business affairs in any way. All right? Now, in Islam, we're supposed to have extended families, all right? We have special problems here because we don't have the extended families, and people are afraid of polygamy, and so they have no choice but to leave their children with strangers in daycare centers and other things like this. I don't know that it is forbidden, but I do know that on the day of judgment, you will answer to Allah for all of the negative things your child will learn while in the care of another person. You will answer on the day of judgment for the insecurity that your child develops because the parent was not there to love them and hold them and comfort them and encourage them and help them to develop as full human beings. You will answer to Allah for all of the deficiencies that will develop in your child because your child has to depend on himself or herself more than on the parent who wasn't there. And brothers, you will answer to Allah if you are not there for your children in the same way. Now, I do know parents where both are going to school and studying, and they take different shifts. So when he's in class, she's at home. When she's in class, he's at home, so the children are never left with a babysitter. And it works well. They're doing all right. They're getting their degrees, which is important to them both. But the child can never be neglected. And the child needs two parents involved in their upbringing. It is not solely the responsibility of the mother. The father is supposed to be there hugging, loving, kissing, changing, washing, putting to bed, reading stories, teaching, whatever. It's a father's responsibility to be a parent as much as the mother's.
There's a hadith which says on the day of judgment more women will be in the hellfire. Can you explain this? That hadith is there. You know, I'm not going to deny it because that hadith is there. And there are more women in the world than there are men. You know?
I mean, there are a lot more women than there are men on the earth. There will probably be that ratio in hell as well. You know, Allah gives us a lot of breaks. You know, heaven's put at the feet of the mother, but if the mother wants to, you know, not do what's supposed to be done, she doesn't get to heaven just by virtue of having children. And women, too often, thank you very much, sweethearts. Women too often, I'm going to make some enemies here, but I have a reputation for not pulling punches, so sorry ladies if I offend you right now. I'm not sorry, I'm going to do it. Women seem to love to spend time complaining about how bad their lives are. Rather than studying Quran or playing with children or teaching children or being joyful in being alive, women like to sit around and talk about, oh, this was not how I planned my life to be. If only my husband had done this, then we would have this. Women seem to, and I'm a woman, okay? But women seem more inclined to complain because things aren't the way they want them to be. They won't do anything to change it. They just like to complain. Women seem more inclined to sit around and chew the flesh of their sisters, if you will, rather than occupy themselves in activities and charity work and whatever, something that would be of benefit to society. They like to gather around and, did you know that so-and-so did this and that? Okay? I wish it wasn't this way, but I have to face the reality of what I see every day. Until the women want to change the way they're doing things, their future looks pretty bleak to me.
What should the wife do if her husband doesn't allow his children to go to their mother's, brother's, or other relatives' house?
To their mothers, brothers, or
Relatives of the relatives of the wife.
oh, to their mother's brother. Okay. Well, you know, we have issues where the husband does have the final say on things. And we face the reality that a lot of our brothers don't mind facing Allah and explaining to Allah why they would break the ties of family. And since the breaking of bonds of family is one of the worst things that we can do, you know, this brother, whoever he is, you know, I feel sorry for him, but he seems not to be afraid of Allah in the least bit if he's trying to do something that would cause a breaking in the bonds of family. Now, I also have sometimes people will talk about, well, you know, but my wife's family is not Muslim. And they, you know, they don't want their wife to associate with her own parents because they're not Muslim and things like this. I have to warn you, even that is forbidden. Okay? Whether they are Muslim or not, the family ties cannot be broken. And the wing of mercy will be lowered to the parents no matter what their religious belief is. The only thing you can do is to try and show them in Quran, show them in Hadith, and encourage in a kind and polite way. It doesn't help to yell and scream and throw things, or even to cry and stomp your feet or threaten or anything like that. But a lot of times honey will work where fire doesn't. And so I advise you to try a little bit of honey and a little bit of knowledge to try and educate him. And brothers, lots of luck on the Day of Judgment.
There are several questions around this theme. I'll read one of the questions. I have these Western friends who are always picking on the fact that in the eyewitness case, 2 women are needed as to 1 man. I say it's only on financial matters, where women, due to their different roles, may not be as well versed in money matters as men are. But they say to me, what about Benazir Bhutto, for example? Can you help me answering them?
I wish that I were more knowledgeable. I really do. This is one of the points that is sometimes the hardest to explain, because people will pick on anything and everything as a point to argue on when they just want to argue, and you're not going to be able to necessarily convince them of anything. You need to remind them, yes, indeed, it is only on matter of economics, on money, that it requires 2 women to 1 man, so the man cannot put pressure on his wife, and so that unhappiness wouldn't be generated as easily. So it's a protection for the woman and a protection for the marriage, that he can't push his wife because he has to find another woman as well. All right? You can also remind them that there is another time in the Quran where a woman's witness is stronger than a man's witness. And even if a man says one thing, if the woman says contrary, the woman's voice is the one that is supposed to be heard. So there's balances all around. And in Islam, all rights are not the same, and same is not necessarily equitable. But in Islam, all things are equitable. Each right is balanced by an obligation. And this is the thing that makes Islam different, is that each right is balanced by an obligation.
Assalamu alaikum. The Adhan will be sounding soon, so if we can prepare for Isha, inshallah, and then if you come back, there'll be some dessert and some time for some more questions. Thanks.
60 questions up here. I cannot possibly deal with them. All right? I'm going to try and deal with the ones that I think are more urgent. The others, if you want a written response from me, then you can leave your address and stuff, and I will do the best I can as far as answering them and send them to you. If yours is not dealt with, I'm sorry. And getting angry at her is not going to get an answer for you. All right? I will answer as many as I can, but don't take it out on Kathleen again. Okay. Where are we at?
We're here. Okay, so there's a couple of questions on this theme. What do you think the brothers can do in order to be identified as Muslims? What is the proper Islamic clothing for the Muslim brothers?
Oh, yes, I forgot to talk about Islamic dress for men, didn't I? Okay, sorry about that. You guys are not getting off scot-free. There is an appropriate dress for the Muslim women, hijab for men as well as hijab for women, all right? Now, most of you should know I have seen a couple who seem to have forgotten, all right? Men are not allowed to wear tight-fitting pants. It's forbidden. So don't do it. Men are not to wear any clothing that reveals their shape and form. They are to be modest. A man is not to wear a shirt and then unbutton it to his waist to show his hairy or non-hairy chest. It's not acceptable. Men are not supposed to be wearing swimming trunks unless they cover the aura. Okay? Knee to navel, loose fitting, does not cling either in the water or out of the water. Those little bicycle shorts that go down to the knee,
but are so tight that it doesn't look like you have anything on from behind, not acceptable. All kinds of things that the brothers are doing, not acceptable. And actually, you need to look at finding better ways to be recognized for who and what you are.